I never imagined betrayal would look like this. When people talk about heartbreak, they usually describe it as sharp, immediate, like a knife. But for me, it was slow poison, drip by drip, day by day, until the moment it consumed everything. The irony? I didn't even realize I was the one paying for the poison. Yes, you heard that right. While my wife was busy playing the perfect partner to another man, she was funding their little adventures with my money. Hotel bills, fancy dinners, drinks at upscale bars I had never stepped into. All of it charged to my card, disguised in the haze of my trust. I used to think trust was the foundation of love. Now I know trust is the easiest weapon to use against someone who gives it freely. The first time I truly noticed something was wrong, it was late at night. I was scrolling through my banking app, half asleep, when I saw a withdrawal from a place I didn't recognize. At first, I shrugged. Probably groceries, I muttered. But then I noticed the amount. 3 times what groceries usually cost. Strange, I whispered. The thought barely lingered. I was tired, ready to crash, and honestly, I trusted her too much to question it. The next week, it happened again. And again. The numbers added up like bricks on my chest. Finally, one evening, I turned to her while we were on the couch. "Hey," I said casually, "have you been using the card for something special lately?" Just curious. She didn't even flinch. "Oh yeah, my friend needed help. She's going through a tough time." She leaned against me, smiling sweetly, her head on my shoulder. And just like that, my doubts melted. That's the thing about lies. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be delivered with enough confidence. But lies don't stay hidden forever. One night, she said she'd be staying with a friend who had just arrived in the city for work. Something inside me stirred uneasily. Why doesn't she stay here? I offered. We've got plenty of space. Her eyes darted away. Oh no, she wouldn't feel comfortable. I don't want to intrude on her. She'll be fine. The words sounded rehearsed. And for the first time, I didn't believe her. I should have confronted her right then. But love makes you weak. It convinces you to doubt your instincts instead of the person betraying you. A few days later, I stumbled across a charge that made my skin crawl. It wasn't for groceries or gas or anything ordinary. It was for a rooftop bar in a hotel in the wealthiest part of the city. I stared at the receipt on my phone, my heart pounding. What the hell is this? I muttered aloud. It didn't make sense. Why would she even go there? And then the thought I had been avoiding slithered into my brain. She's with someone else. The idea was unbearable. It explained everything. The late nights, the lies about friends, the sudden defensiveness when I asked about money. Still, I needed proof. That Friday, she dressed up more than usual. Her makeup was flawless, her perfume stronger, her hair styled in a way I hadn't seen in months. "I'm going to see my friend again," she said casually, grabbing her purse. I forced a smile. "All right, have fun." The moment she left, I followed. My hands trembled as I drove behind her, staying far enough back to not be noticed. Every red light felt like my heart was stopping and starting all over again. When she finally parked, I felt sick. She wasn't at her friend's place. She was at a high-end restaurant I'd only ever seen in magazines. I watched from my car as she stepped out, smoothing her dress. And then he appeared. Tall, well-dressed, confident. He smiled at her like she was the center of the universe. And she smiled back, the smile that used to be mine. They hugged, not a polite hug, a slow, intimate embrace that lasted too long. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly I thought it might break. Unbelievable, I whispered, my throat dry. I wanted to storm in, drag her out, and expose her lies. But I didn't. Instead, I sat there, paralyzed as they walked inside together. I couldn't bring myself to follow. Some part of me already knew what I'd find. When she came home hours later, I pretended everything was normal. "How was your friend?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. She smiled. "She's good. We had so much to catch up on." Her lie was smooth, effortless. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't the first time. She had been practicing. After that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile at him. I heard her laugh, the laugh that used to belong to me, ringing in my ears. It was torture, a kind of mental prison I couldn't escape. The next week was worse. She started spending even more money, charges popping up on my card for places I didn't recognize. When I confronted her, she waved it off. Stop worrying so much. You're being paranoid. The casual dismissal cut deeper than a scream would have. One evening, as she prepared to go out again, I tried one last time. Where exactly are you going? I asked, watching her zip up her dress. She glanced at me through the mirror, her lipstick flawless. I told you, with a friend. She need me tonight. I wanted to scream the truth at her. Instead, I just muttered, right? A friend. Her eyes flickered, but she didn't say anything. She grabbed her purse and left without even a goodbye kiss. This time, I didn't hesitate. I checked her location the moment she was gone. My heart nearly stopped when I saw it. She wasn't headed toward any friend's place. She was going to a hotel. I drove like a madman across the city. When I pulled into the lot, there was her car, parked neatly outside the lobby. I sat in my own car, sweating, staring at the entrance. Minutes passed like hours. Finally, I saw them. She came out, laughing, her hand on his chest. He leaned down, whispered something in her ear, and she giggled, the way she hadn't giggled with me in years. Then, he wrapped his arm around her waist. Together, they walked back inside, into that hotel. My chest tightened until I thought I'd suffocate. It wasn't suspicion anymore. It was real, undeniable. When she came home hours later, her hair slightly messy, her perfume mixed with a faint scent of cologne that wasn't hers, I couldn't take it anymore. Where were you? I asked, my voice trembling. She didn't miss a beat. With my friend. I laughed bitterly. Which friend? The one with the hotel suite. Her face froze. What were you talking about? I know. I snapped. I saw you. I saw everything. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then, to my shock, she didn't apologize. She didn't even look guilty. Instead, she glared at me. You followed me? She hissed. You spied on me? What is wrong with you? The audacity made me dizzy. I shouted back, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? You're cheating on me, and you dare turn this around? Her lips curled into a smirk I'd never seen before. Maybe if you were enough for me, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere. Those words, they shattered me. The fight that followed was the ugliest we'd ever had. She accused me of being controlling. I accused her of being a liar. We shouted until our throats were raw. At one point, I slammed my fist against the table. You're destroying everything we built. She crossed her arms, cold and detached. Maybe it wasn't worth building in the first place. That was the moment I realized. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't torn. She had already chosen him. After that night, things were never the same. We stopped talking except for small, cold exchanges. She stayed out later and later, sometimes not even bothering with excuses. The house that once felt like home now felt like a prison. Worse, I was trapped financially. I couldn't just leave. Divorce meant alimony. Money I didn't have, not when I was already paying my parents' bills. It felt like checkmate. So I endured. I watched her sneak out, watched the charges pile up, watched her slip further and further away from me. And I felt myself slipping too, into anger, despair, hopelessness. But here's the thing about despair. It doesn't last forever. At some point, it hardens into resolve. And when that happened, I knew I wouldn't let her get away with it. The days that followed felt like living in a nightmare. Every corner of the house reminded me of her betrayal. The couch where we used to watch movies together. The kitchen table where we shared breakfast every morning. Even the bed, our bed, felt tainted. I lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she was with him at that exact moment. I began to withdraw into myself. At work, I made mistakes I never used to make. My boss asked if I was okay, and I lied through my teeth, just tired. In truth, I was exhausted, not from work, but from carrying the weight of a marriage that was already dead. One evening, she came home later than usual. I sat in the living room, waiting, the clock ticking louder with every passing minute. When she finally walked through the door, her lipstick smudged, her perfume overbearing, I couldn't hold back. Who is he? I asked flatly. She froze in the doorway. What are you talking about? Stop lying to me. I shouted, standing up. I've seen you. The restaurants. The hotel. Do you really think I'm that stupid? Her expression hardened. For a moment, I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. Then she laughed, cold, bitter. You know what? Fine. Believe whatever you want. You've already decided I'm the villain here. The villain? I repeated, stunned. You're cheating on me, using my money to fund your little dates, and I'm the villain? She rolled her eyes. You always play the martyr. Maybe if you weren't so controlling, so suffocating, I wouldn't need to look elsewhere for happiness. The words hit me like a truck. I felt my knees weaken, but I refused to collapse in front of her. I clenched my fists and whispered, "You're unbelievable." After that, we stopped pretending. She no longer bothered to make excuses. Sometimes she wouldn't come home at all, and when she did, her phone buzzed constantly with messages she tried to hide. I knew who they were from, and every time, it tore another piece out of me. I wanted to leave. God, I wanted to walk away and never look back. But the thought of alimony, of financial ruin, of abandoning my parents who relied on me, it chained me in place. She knew it too. I saw it in the smug way she carried herself, as if she had already won. One night, as I sat alone in the dark living room, my head in my hands, I realized something. She wasn't just betraying me. She was mocking me. Every laugh she shared with him, every dollar she spent on mine, every lie she told to my face. It wasn't just infidelity. It was humiliation, and something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. I wasn't going to sit by while she destroyed me piece by piece. If she wanted to play games, fine. Two could play. The next morning, I looked at her differently. She was scrolling through her phone at the breakfast table, barely acknowledging me. Normally, that would have crushed me, but this time I felt calm because I had finally made a decision. Going out again tonight? I asked casually. She looked up suspicious. Yeah, what? I smiled faintly. No reason, just curious. She narrowed her eyes, then shrugged and went back to her phone. She had no idea what was coming. That day, I started gathering everything: receipts, screenshots, bank statements. I traced every charge back to the night she lied. Every dinner, every bar, every hotel. Piece by piece, I built a picture so clear even she couldn't deny it. As I stared at the pile of evidence, my hands trembled, not with fear, but with a strange exhilaration. For the first time in months, I felt in control. And I knew this was only the beginning. The story doesn't end here. Not even close. What happened next? The confrontation, the fallout, the way everything unraveled. It's something no one could have predicted. Not even me. But one thing is certain. The person who walked into that fire wasn't the same man who walked out. The night I finally decided to confront her, the house was silent. Too silent. It felt like the calm before a storm. Except this time, I was the storm. I had everything ready. The receipts, the screenshots, the evidence stacked high like a verdict waiting to be read. When she walked through the door, tossing her keys onto the table like she always did, I didn't waste time. "Sit down," I said, my voice low, steady. She blinked at me, clearly annoyed. "What now? Sit down." Something in my tone must have told her I wasn't bluffing, because she sat. I dropped the folder in front of her. Bank statements, printouts, photos, everything. She glanced at the pile, then back at me, her face carefully blank. "What's this supposed to be?" she asked coolly. I leaned forward, my eyes locked on hers. "This is proof. Proof of every lie, every night, every dollar you stole from me to spend on him." Her mask slipped for just a second, a flicker of panic. Then just as quickly, she recovered, smirking. "So you've been stalking me. Congratulations." My fists clenched. "No, I've been watching you destroy our marriage. And now, I'm done pretending." For the first time, her confidence wavered. "What do you want, then? A divorce?" The word hung in the air like a blade. A part of me wanted to scream yes, but I knew I couldn't, not yet. "Maybe," I said slowly, "but not before everyone knows the truth. Not before your perfect little fantasy world burns down." Her eyes widened. "You wouldn't know I would," I said, my voice like ice. "You see, I'm not just walking away. I'm making sure you pay for every single lie." The next part happened faster than I expected. Her phone buzzed on the table. I glanced at the screen. His name lit up in bold letters. She lunged for it, but I grabbed it first. Without thinking, I answered. "Hello." There was a pause on the other end, then a man's voice. "Who the hell is this?" I smiled grimly. "The husband." Silence. Then a laugh, arrogant, mocking. "So you finally figured out, huh? Took you long enough. The rage that surged through me was indescribable. You've been using my money to fund your little dates. I spat. Every dinner, every hotel, every damn drink. I paid for it all. He chuckled. Well, if it makes you feel better, your wife has expensive taste. You should be proud. I nearly crushed the phone in my hand. But before I could respond, she snatched it back. Don't talk to him, she snapped at me. Then turned away, whispering into the phone like I wasn't even there. That was the breaking point. I stood, grabbed a stack of papers, and threw them across the room. They're all going to know. I shouted. Your parents, your friends, everyone. I'm done protecting you. For the first time, real fear spread across her face. You wouldn't dare, she whispered. Oh, I would, I hissed. Because you've taken everything from me. My money, my trust, my love. But I'll be damned if you take my dignity too. She stared at me, her mouth opening and closing, but no words came. In that silence, I realized something. She wasn't invincible. She was just a liar who'd finally been caught. The next morning, I followed through. I sent the proof to everyone who mattered. Her family, her closest friends, even her workplace. The fallout was immediate. Calls, messages, shocked replies. Her perfect mask crumbled in front of everyone. When she stormed home, her face pale, her eyes blazing, I was ready. You ruined me, she screamed. No, I said calmly. You ruined yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. That night was the end. She packed a bag, screaming threats, curses, promises of revenge. I let her go, because for the first time in years, I felt free. But the story doesn't end with her leaving. No, the final twist came weeks later when I learned something that made my blood run cold. A mutual friend reached out, hesitant but insistent. I thought you should know, she said softly. That guy, the one she was with, you're not the first. She's done this before, more than once, with different men, all while you were paying the bills. The room spun around me. It wasn't just one affair. It was a pattern, a life built on betrayal. At first, I felt sick, but then, strangely, I felt relieved. Because suddenly, it wasn't about me not being enough. It wasn't about my failures. It was about her choices, her lies. And in that realization, I found peace. Now, months later, I can look back and see it clearly. The woman I thought was my soulmate was nothing more than a stranger wearing a mask. She cheated. She lied. She tried to break me. But in the end, she freed me. And though the scars remain, I know this. Sometimes the worst betrayal leads to the most unexpected freedom.